By the end of World War II, Soviets occupied East Europe, opposed free elections. The U.S. then made the Truman Doctrine, which allowed the U.S. to support people who were resisting attempted subjugation by armed minorities or outside pressures. Germany was divided into 4 parts, controlled by U.S., Soviet Union, Great Britain, and France. Great Britain, France, and the United States made plans to unify West Germany. In September of 1949, Federal Republic of Germany, or West Germany, was formally created. The U.S. and Soviet Union became involved in an arms race, especially in the nuclear weapons department. NATO was formed in April 1949, and those powers agreed to provide mutual help if the other was attacked. Soviet Union also made a military alliance known as the Warsaw Pact. By the mid-1950s, the U.S. found alliances with 42 states around the world. Soviet Union and the U.S. had intercontinental missiles capable of sending bombs anywhere. A new leader of the Soviet Union emerged in 1955 called Nikita Khrushchev. He became the new leader of the Soviet Union and put up the Berlin Wall. The wall was built in 1961 to stop the flow of refugees from East Germany through West Berlin. Then in 1962, Khrushchev began to place nuclear missiles in Cuba. The missiles were meant to counteract U.S. nuclear weapons placed in Turkey. In October 1962, Kennedy found out that Soviet ships carrying missiles were heading to Cuba. He decided to blockade Cuba to prevent the fleet from reaching its destination. Khrushchev agreed to turn back the fleet and remove Soviet missiles from Cuba if Kennedy pledged not to invade Cuba. Kennedy quickly agreed. The U.S. was then drawn into a new struggle that had an important impact on the Cold War, the Vietnam War. In 1964, increasing numbers of U.S. troops were sent to Vietnam. Their purpose was to keep the communist regime of North Vietnam from invading the gaining control of South Vietnam. U.S. policymakers saw the conflict in terms of a domino theory. If the communists succeeded in South Vietnam, the argument went, other countries in Asia would also fall to communism like dominoes. Things were going pretty smoothly in the 1970s until the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. The Soviet Union wanted to restore a pro-Soviet regime in Afghanistan, but the U.S. saw this as an act of expansion. To show his disapproval, President Jimmy Carter canceled U.S. participation in the 1980 Olympic Games to be held in Moscow. In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in the Soviet Union. The Cold War suddenly ended. In December of 1991, Ukraine voted for independence, thus ending the Soviet Union.